What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome into NYJ today. It is great to see you guys. Hope you all are doing well. We are doing just peachy keen over here. Anthony Galeros, what is up, my man? Bryant Still, how you doing? Good to see you guys. Don't forget the number to call in is on the screen right now. It's everywhere. I have it on like 3 different spots on the screen, so you can't miss it. We would love to get some of your call-ins. Just want to thank our live audience and also want to thank the people who watch the streams after the streams are over. We really appreciate you guys coming in every single week, coming and check in, and we hope you enjoy the show tonight. Mike, how you doing? How you feeling? What's up?
What's going on, chat? What's going on, man? Now doing good here. Another week, another grind, right? Every time I have a hard day at work, I think I'm Robert Saleh getting ready for the season. Trying to get myself motivated, all gas, no brake, baby. That's how I'm applying that whole thing to my life. It's not just Jet anymore. It's me.
Yeah, he said it's a lifestyle. I think he means it.
Yeah.
So, you haven't shaved your head yet, though, so it doesn't count. You're not actually you're not living the dream over there yet.
Should I go Mohawk? Should I go Mohawk?
Bald head, baby.
You want to go straight ball?
Yeah, you got to get a clean haircut.
Yeah.
So anyway, we will go ahead into topic number 1. Unless we get some call-ins, we will always stop. But again, we hope to hear from you guys. Fill up that chat with like you always do. We appreciate you guys coming in. We've got some good topics tonight. The first topic tonight is going to be our coordinators. Offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur, defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich. Mike, I got a lot to say. What are you feeling about these guys? I mean, I should read the questions that I wrote down actually now that I've said that. I asked a couple of questions. I said, what kind of identity and philosophy do you want these two guys to instill into the roster? And it's a very young roster.
Very young.
Let's start with LaFleur. What kind of philosophies and identity do you want the team to take on with Mike LaFleur? I love his name, by the way.
And I don't think I'm gonna blow any minds. I mean, I think what we're all hoping is that some of the Kyle Shanahan ideals come with him. Obviously, his brother, very successful out there in Green Bay. Michael LaFleur, very successful under Kyle Shanahan. I was actually looking at LaFleur's history in college, especially with his work with quarterbacks. I think the biggest thing to me, besides before we get to the play calling, is what does he do with Zach? I mean, I think you couldn't ask for a better situation, a better setup for Zach. That was one thing that I didn't really talk to. I guess I didn't really look into Michael LaFleur's background as much as I have preparing for this week's stream. But you heard me at chats hear me talk about if you consider Zach Wilson, Adam in the Adam and Eve story, like you got to give him a tool, you got to give him clothes, you got to protect him, with Vera Tucker and Becton and you give him tools to hunt with Elijah Moore and others. So, the one thing no one really that I didn't talk to in that whole analogy is someone to guide him, someone to give him a direction, and I think Michael LaFleur is the perfect guy to do that, given his track history, working with quarterbacks both in college and here in the NFL. So that to me, man, and answering that question without going on a tangent is probably.
Your camera's shaking a little bit. You're doing a great job, though, by the way.
Sorry. No, thank you.
You're good. You're good.
I'm so excited. I'm banging the table. But yeah, what he does to Zach, especially, Zach's an asset. He's an investment. And it's more than just protecting him and giving him tools. It's coaching him. I think at times he looks like he's a 15-year-old boy, depending on what picture I see. So that's probably the biggest thing I'm looking forward to. Now, obviously Michael LaFleur's performance baseline needs to be higher than that because he's not a quarterback coach. He's the offensive coordinator. So that's where I get into the Kyle Shanahan kind of philosophy. Fast, utilizing fast players, outside zones, definitely cementing the running game, opening up, some slant routes, some play action. screens. I'm expecting a lot of screenplay,
Yeah,
and really,
that's a great point to make. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I just think those are all good things that
yeah. No, I don't want to dominate the floor, but yeah, I mean,
you're
what he does for Zach, how he spreads and utilizes the resources on offense. That was one of the big things, man, that I always thought Adam Gase was horrible at. Is we had more tools than what we used even in those dark times. Like at times it was just the same. They really weren't, they weren't going to Mims as much as they could. They really weren't, I think they tried to use Herndon for a period of time. Crowder was obviously go to at one point, but I just feel like we didn't really, as bad as the team was, we really weren't trying to utilize or develop, tools or develop players. And I think the one big thing before I turn the floor over to you that I'm expecting from LaFleur, I think LaFleur is going to use everyone on that depth chart in some form or capacity, and I think that's a pretty exciting thing for us. So I think I'm sorry, man, I'm dominating.
No, I let you go because you were preaching. You were doing great. So yeah, I'll just follow up on a couple of things, and then I'm going to give his whole coaching background because I have it here. Yeah, we did not utilize our best players at all last year. We all know that because we were 2-14. But running Frank Gore into the ground, like I've already heard from Robert Saleh. I don't know who is interviewing him, but he talked about how you can't be afraid to play young players. And it's based on the Pete Carroll philosophy that when you play them, they're going to obviously make mistakes. They'll make more mistakes than veterans do, but they make the most growth when you play them. They're going to exponentially grow, and it makes sense. They're the young bucks. They're the guys that, they need to get their ears wet, basically. They need to experience the NFL, and the only way to really, truly do that is to get on the NFL gridiron. And that's one of the things that was just so nice to hear from Robert Saleh was the fact that he's not afraid to play young guys. And I think it's very interesting that he made that comment because our team is, I think, the third or the fourth youngest in the National Football League. So you're going to see just youth all over the place. It might not be all starters that are young, but role players, like you said, Mike, that's the big thing. Utilizing the depth chart. Enough with this bullshit of, only going to, your 3 or 4 best wide receivers. Why can't they all make plays?
Right.
Why can't they all be given opportunities to get the ball in their hands? Like Keelan Cole, he might not rack up a million touches this year, but I expect him to play on offense. I expect him to get touches some way or another, and he's probably our 5th best wide receiver on the team right
Yeah.
So I just love that idea. They're going to actually have a plan for all of these guys and the best way to get them on the field. And you mentioned it earlier, the square peg and a round hole. I don't think we're going to have that type of system. I mean, it's way too early to know for sure. Maybe we end up hating this guy in a year or two. He's ruined the Jets and he's ruined Zach Wilson. But I just am very happy and very optimistic about Mike LaFleur. Before I get into his background in coaching, just want to review here on our chat. We've got a bunch of people in here. Guys, thanks so much for coming in and commenting. We are talking about Mike LaFleur. We're talking about Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator. Let us know what you guys think about Mike LaFleur, and I will put your comment up here, and I will read it, and I'll get your opinion out here as well. So Thomas says he's getting ready for the Zach attack. There's been another video posted online of Zach being with his teammates, just chilling. They're all hanging out by the pool, basically hanging out and just building that bond, that relationship. He hasn't left New Jersey. The dude is there, I believe, until the end of OTAs, and then he's going to go back home for a little bit. But he's been staying there the whole time. So love what I'm hearing from or what I'm seeing from Zach. JE says, "What's up, guys?" And Gumball 3D says, "I feel better about LaFleur than Loggins." That is like saying I prefer cheesecake over being stabbed in the eye. but true, a true statement. Yes.
And the other thing I'll just say is, I'm gonna really blow your mind, is looking at the support staff that they're hiring, like Greg Knapp on the passing game side, or like I was talking to John about Miles Austin from New Jersey joining the team as a wide receiver coach. It's not obviously it's Robert Saleh's call, right? So you could say this is really Mike LaFleur, but Mike LaFleur is part of that. So, Greg Knapp was with Matt Ryan when Matt Ryan was throwing for crazy yards. He's worked with Peyton Manning. He's worked with Jeff Garcia back in the day. So it's more, it's also the little things that they're doing and who they're going to be delegating to. Michael LaFleur can't work with every player on every snap in every training camp. So it's also who they're selecting to delegate to in terms of their assistant coaches, their strength coaches, all that stuff. I love, if anyone goes on the New York Jets website, look at those support coaches, those assistant coaches, because I love what they're doing there as well.
Yep, it's a good, well-rounded coaching staff for sure. The proof will be in the pudding, though. We'll see how they do. But yeah, I love the start that they're at as far as the coaching goes. So I'm going to really quickly, recap a little bit of LaFleur's coaching career. And then I just have one stat that I'll share that I thought was really eye-catching. So he started out as a college coach all the way back in 2009. He was at Elmhurst College as an offensive assistant. Then he worked his way to St. Joseph's College, 2010 to 2012. He was the offensive coordinator and the passing game coordinator. He also coached the quarterbacks, and Mike, you alluded to that earlier. He's been coaching quarterbacks now for over a decade, which is good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. And he's young. He's only 34 years old.
Crazy young.
Yeah. Davidson College, 2013. He was the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, and wide receivers coach. Then he finally got his shot at the NFL. He was the offensive intern, and he coached the offensive line, which I thought was really cool for the Cleveland Browns. So he actually has a really, really diverse resume when you look at his background. I'll get to it a little bit more. But he's basically coached every single position group except for running back, as far as I could tell. So really well-rounded. After he got his internship, he went to the Atlanta Falcons for 2 seasons. He was the offensive assistant coach. He also coached wide receivers and tight ends. And then he got his big shot in San Fran. He was there for 4 years. He coached wide receivers. He was the passing game coordinator for the last 2 seasons. Last 2 seasons. So he had his hand in the passing game. And one more point, and then I'm going to turn it to you. Since 2018, with LaFleur as the passing game coordinator, the 49ers were one of just 7 teams in the league to have 3 different starting quarterbacks for at least 7 games. All 3 quarterbacks, Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins, and CJ Beathard, finished with at least an 87.2 passer rating, making San Fran the only of those 7 teams to have all 3 register ratings that high.
Yeah.
So you could make the argument that he's one of the best passing game coordinators in the National Football League. He has coached not just premium talent quarterbacks. He's coached guys all different levels: 3rd string quarterback, 2nd string quarterback, and 1st string, and they were successful with it.
Right.
And I think that's a big deal.
Well, it's a huge deal. And I also think, like you mentioned, you can't be afraid to play young players, and I think Robert Saleh showing you can't be afraid to play young coaches or coaches who this is their first time as an official coordinator. Both Jeff and Mike, this is their first time being the big cheese on the offensive side and defensive side of the ball. Yeah, they both were, specialist coaches and assistant coaches for a period of time. And I think what Robert's telling you is you can't be afraid to bring new talent to the field. You don't necessarily have to go with a Shanahan. You don't need Shanahan's name, or you don't need I have Mike McCarthy when Mike McCarthy was under Holmgren, but you know what I'm saying. You don't need a household name to win a Super Bowl. It comes with what are they bringing to the table, what new perspectives, what do they do with the players, how do they delegate to their assistant staff, it's extremely important. Yeah, for sure.
And they need to be a good teacher too. Like, that's part of coaching, is being a good teacher.
Right.
All right, Anthony Galeros, he throws in the comment. He says, I already like Zach's attitude better than Sam's. I don't think there was anything, and I don't think you're saying this, I don't think there was ever anything wrong with Sam's attitude, but I never really felt the passion for football from Sam like I do with Zach. And again, it's super early, so don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's guaranteed Hall of Famer. He's going to win us 5 Super Bowls. His attitude and his love for the game is pretty apparent early on in the get-go here. So I'm very excited about that. James DiPietro, welcome back, dude. Good to see you. He says we finally have a true coaching staff for every position. He says, I wish Darnold had it. Go Zach. You have to 100% agree with that comment. We all know, we can all agree, Sam got done dirty in New Jersey, New York. The Jets did not give him the proper coaching, the proper weapons. We can go on and on about it. Zach didn't get it. I'm sorry, Sam didn't get it. It seems that Zach is definitely getting it. Thomas Hewitt says Zach is a 74% accuracy in his senior season. LaFleur just got a Lamborghini like Shula when he got Marino. Strong statement. And I actually meant to say that earlier. So LaFleur, for being a first-time offensive coordinator, could you imagine all of this young talent he had? Like, he's not stepping into a bad situation at all.
It's like what's his name? Todd Daniels. Same situation. Same thing.
You mean Josh Daniels? The guy from the Patriots?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Josh Daniels. My bad.
Yeah. I think that's him. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much I mean, aside from having like a proven veteran quarterback like a Brady or a Rodgers, you couldn't really ask.
You stole my thunder.
Yeah, I took him tonight. You can't really ask for a much better like first shot at being an offensive coordinator than with this team because there's just so much potential there. So
yeah, high risk, high reward though. You know what I'm saying?
It is very high risk because it's such a team for sure. I don't recall this person ever coming into the chat. Welcome, sir or ma'am. I believe it's a dude. Kev Chata. He says, hey there, jumping in late. You are not late. You're on time. There's no such thing as being late. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the channel. Give you a little just. It's great to see you. Great to be here. Hopefully you enjoy the show tonight. All right. So what about, we talked a lot about, like identity. Is there anything philosophically that you want to see? Like, I have something in mind. Is there something that like, philosophically you want to see, like quick passing, more running, like early down? Like, what philosophy are you hoping that he brings? And then we can move over to Jeff Ulbrich.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, the answer to that question, which is, okay, if the expectation he's bringing a lot of the Shanahan style and foundation, what is that? Like, what is the Shanahan foundation? And then some of that is exactly what you mentioned, which is quick slant passing, zone running. I think is one of the big things that Shanahan is known for in terms of spreading the defense out. Constant rotations, utilizing of spreading the ball around to different talents. And playing fast, I guess. That's a little bit of a cop-out thing to say because what the hell, that could apply to anything. But playing fast is probably the best way for me to define that, right?
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to quickly hammer this because it's a great point to bring up, and I haven't mentioned it. The tempo of this offense, it has been like a snail.
Yeah.
I hate that. We're never in no huddle unless we're down by 40.
Yeah.
It's just so abysmal. Like, why can't we go in no huddle to like break like if we've gone 3 and out in the last drive, try going no huddle just to start the next drive. Just go do something quick and do something with tempo.
Right. And at some point, let trust your quarterback to make some play calls on his own. If he's got to check down or he's got an audible, whatever he's got to do, Now, obviously that how and when you do that is based on what you see from the players and his maturity and his growth and things like that. But yeah, I mean, play fast, use the speed on the team and also use that young, that young team that we are to our benefit, which is, we can play at a faster tempo, to your point. We can make defenses tired. We don't necessarily have to score in under 10 plays on the offense on every series. We can take our time and we can wear defenses down based on our youth and based on how we're constantly moving the ball and using our resources. So, yeah, and in the X's and O's, very Shanahan type of style. I think I think if anyone's been watching, Zach's footage on YouTube, everything they have him doing is slant routes. At least that's what I've seen. I don't know. I haven't seen any deep ball throws or anything. I'm sure he is. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's things that we don't see on camera, but the ones that they're posting to YouTube coming out of the jet camp is a lot of slant routes, a lot of screen routes and stuff like that. So I think to me, everything I've seen shows that it's going to be a Shanahan type of at least somewhat of a found. I think Michael LaFleur is going to add his own pieces to it. I don't expect him to try to totally be, look in the mirror and say, I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm going to do exactly what he does. I think that would be the one question for me to you, John, is where do you think he tailors it to himself?
I honestly think he's going to be very much like his brother. I think that they're going to want to run the ball first to set up the passing game, or at least that's kind of what I hope they do.
Yeah.
The one thing I will credit Green Bay for, for all the things that they haven't done so well, making Rodgers happy, going for it on fourth down inside the 10-yard line in the NFC Championship game. But the play calling is fantastic in Green Bay. They run the ball a lot. They were running Williams. They were using Aaron Jones. They drafted a kid in the second round to run the ball with as well. So, I just want to see us get back to running the football. And there's no reason why the Jets cannot run left a lot. Becton has proven himself, in my opinion, as a road grader at left tackle.
Yeah.
And honestly, if we can run the ball, it's going to make everything easier. It's going to set up play action. It's going to set up those boots. It's going to allow Zach Wilson to make easy throws because the team is going to have to account for the running game. And that's really what I'm hoping for. I hope, not to say we need to run the ball 40 times a game, but I would love to see us just get back to an emphasis to get the running game going. That's really what I'm hoping for. Philosophically, I want them to run the ball, and I want them to use a committee game, kind of like the Green Bay Packers have done.
Yeah, and also it puts mileage on the offense too. Without having to put the line, particularly the right side of the line, under a predicament where they're in a running shotgun every time and having to constantly protect Zach, and being, fearful of, does he go down? Do we have an issue? I mean, yeah, Zach's got legs, everyone knows that, but I think the quicker and the faster the offensive is, not only is that in line with what me and you were both saying, but it should add mileage to our roster staying in good health. At least that's the expectation. I don't want to jinx anything or anything like that, but I think it's a smart play. I mean, I think some people would say, I don't know. Do some people think that the Shanahan offense or Matt LaFleur's offense can sometimes not be as exciting as other offensive styles? But to me, I think go back and look at some of Shanahan's play calling and some of the big plays he's done at San Fran and other places. I'm excited about it. I've heard some people, I don't know about, and maybe I'm reading the wrong articles, but some people were saying sometimes his offense can be what was that? Who's the coach from the Chargers back in the day?
Marty Schottenheimer?
No, not Schottenheimer. There's a name. I shouldn't even mention it because I can't think of what the name was. But some people think that his offense can sometimes be a little bit boring to watch because it's not always as exciting depending on what he's doing. But to me, his record speaks for himself, so I'm totally good with it.
It's a great coaching tree. All right, let's get to some comments. Kev Chatta, he says college stats are out the door, and I agree. We can't look at those anymore necessarily. But he says, to start, we got to expect less and be pleasantly surprised if we get on a good win run. And that's been a lot of Jets fans' take on that. They feel like we're in the right direction, but people need to just kind of pump the brakes a little bit, including myself. I've gotten some comments about that. I'm not expecting a winning record this season, but I do expect them to be competitive, even with being so young. If you're not hoping for that or expecting that, then root harder. I don't know what to tell you. But I agree with you, though. The college stats are definitely out the door. Let's see. LaFleur should send everybody long and let Zach sling it. They may. They may be aggressive. That's the thing. That's kind of why I'm thinking, if you get the running game going, you can start to take your shots downfield. You've got Denzel Mims who can run a 4.3. You've got Corey Davis who can run a 4.3. You've got Elijah Moore that can run a 4.3. You've got speed on the outside. So I think that, Thomas, I think that your philosophy matches with mine. I think the running game plays and sets up those deep ball opportunities that you can get. So James DiPietro says Air Coryell. Is that the Chargers guy you're talking about? That's the he
No,
was.
I think I was thinking of Norv Turner.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, there you go. All right, cool. We have talked plenty about. Okay, so James DiPietro comes at you. He says we're not going to have a boring offense this year. So I don't know. Make that of what you will. I
I
hope.
think it's subjective. I mean, a boring offense when you're winning games. I don't care if I run the ball every time. If we're winning games, I'm not going to say we have a boring offense probably. So it's a very subjective thing.
It's about the W column. Excuse me.
Exactly.
Thomas says, how many slants will Elijah take to the house? Oh
There
man.
you go.
Everybody's very, very high on Elijah Moore. I would say over the last, since he got drafted, I think a lot of people have been learning more and more about him, including myself. This guy looks like an absolute stud. He's a home run hitter. He's everything I was hoping for in a wide receiver, to be honest with you. He's somebody that can take the top off the defense, and he can catch a short pass and go the distance, kind of like what Thomas Hewitt is referring to. Definitely, I agree. James DiPietro says, I forgot I'm older than you. LOL. Yeah, Grant Rude. He said he might call us tonight, by the way, Grant Rude. He said he's had a couple of beers. He says he might get crazy and call us.
Great.
I don't
That's
believe
lovely.
him.
Yeah, I don't believe me there.
Yeah. All right. We are going to go to Jeff Ulbrich now. We are still on this topic. By the way, guys, I haven't heard too much about your opinions on Mike LaFleur and kind of what you hope the offensive philosophy to be. It's still not too late. Go ahead and put it in the chat, and I will read it and put it on the stream. So, Jeff Ulbrich, you want to go first? You want me to go first? How are we doing this?
I'll go first. In terms of the questions, what are you most excited about in terms of what he's going to bring? To me, again, another individual. This is his first time as a defensive coordinator. A lot of work with Atlanta. Obviously, to me, this I can't remember what the order was in terms of. I think Mike was announced first that he was hired, and then Jeff was after Mike LaFleur, if I remember. In which case, to me, this hire I think was a joint operation between Robert and Mike on this. Now, obviously, I'm sure Jeff was in discussions, and Jeff knows Robert pretty well. I can't recall what the history between Robert and Jeff is off the top of my head, but obviously another coach working on the Atlanta staff, where Atlanta had a lot of success. I think, beating right to the point, one of the things I think we all talked about was our insecurities with our linebacker crew. So obviously we got Jeff Ulbrich coming in with extensive linebacker experience, extensive success with linebackers. So although, yeah, I'm not like sleeping all warm and cozy at night with our linebacker crew, what I am sleeping well with is if they're not seeing progress out of that linebacker crew, they'll be ready to act. I don't think that this coaching staff, especially with Jeff at the helm, is going to beat around the bush and hope for things to change. I think if they don't see success or at least possibilities of success with CJ or others, I think you'll see them adjust their play calls or do some things in terms of the depth chart order. What'd you say?
How about benching?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. So I love that because what better way for Jeff to get his hands dirty, but on an area of the team where we're most concerned about. So I think that's great. And also the second thing, this would probably be ranked higher than that. So I probably am out of order, which is his ability to develop young players. He's got 4 players on the Atlanta defense who were second round, I think 4th round and 6th round picks that he got to the Pro Bowl. I think I got a couple of names written down. Deion Jones, and then there was Campbell, I believe. I wrote down Campbell. So
Yep.
there was at least two more players besides those two who were mid round or late round picks that he has built into Pro Bowl contenders or actually in the Pro Bowl as of last season. So I think that's great because, as you said, we have the 4th youngest team in the league. So to have a coach who knows how to deal with young players, who isn't afraid to play young players, and then his expertise on the linebacker side of the house, I think is fantastic. So those are my 2 big points for Jeff.
All right, cool. Yeah, you hit on a lot of stuff. So he played linebacker. I think that's kind of what you were getting at. He played
Yeah.
9 years in the NFL as a linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers. That's where he played his entire NFL career, actually. Played linebacker at Hawaii during college. And since then, he has been coaching, actually. He got into coaching only a year after he retired. In 09 was his last year playing. And then he began his coaching career with the Seattle Seahawks in 2010. And he was the special teams assistant. One of the things I really like about his little coaching, resume here is he actually has assistant head coach a couple of times on his resume. So we're going to go over that in just a few seconds. So special teams assistant with the Seahawks. Then he went to college again. He was with the UCLA Bruins 2012 to 2014. He was the defensive coordinator in 2014. Assistant head coach, linebackers, and special teams coach in 2012 and 2013. Crack that thing.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. And then the Atlanta Falcons. So he's been there since 2015. So he has been there for multiple years now. And like you said, 2015 to 2019, he has been the linebackers coach exclusively. Then in 2020, he got a promotion. He was linebackers coach and assistant head coach. And I think that speaks volumes to what people think of him, not only at the college level, because he was assistant head coach in college, he was also assistant head coach for the Falcons. So I think it speaks a lot about who he is as a coach. He was also the interim defensive coordinator in 2020, and that's going to lead to my little stat that I have here. Pretty cool.
Is that when Dan Quinn was fired?
Exactly, and they pushed Raheem Morris to head coach, interim head coach, and that's where Ulbrich became the interim defensive coordinator and assistant head coach. So it says prior to the Jets, Ulbrich spent 6 seasons with the Falcons, the first 5 as the team's linebackers coach, before he added the title of assistant head coach in 2020. In 2020, following Raheem Morris's move to interim head coach in week 6, he became the interim defensive coordinator for the final 11 games under Ulbrich. For the final 11 games. Under Ulbrich, the defense improved in every category. Total defense, scoring defense, passing defense, rushing defense, third down defense, and red zone defense, while producing more sacks and interceptions. Now, the thing I'm wondering is who do we give more credit to? Do we give more credit to Raheem Morris? Or do we give more credit to Ulbrich? Or is it one of those things where it's a mixed bag?
I don't know. I think Ulbrich, I mean, everything they say, he is a living embodiment of all gas, no brakes. So, I mean, obviously Robert pursuing him, and like I said, as I was preparing, there was all kinds of reports coming out of Atlanta well before even before Robert was selected as the Jets head coach. There was already discussions going on between Robert at the time and Ulbrich in terms of Ulbrich appearing, at least communicating within the Atlanta organization, that he was being hunted pretty heavily. So, I mean, obviously recruiters know what they're looking for. And I mean, I'm not trying to take anything away from the rest of the Atlanta coaching staff. I mean, obviously to turn the ship like that is a very hard thing to do. But I don't know. There's a lot of things in the articles I've read where I don't know. A lot of things point to Jeff in terms of how that team turned around like that.
Yeah. And so there's a couple more things we'll get into. We're going to talk about philosophy and identity. I think that's a little bit easier to speak on with the defensive side of the football, is what kind of identity you want it to have. So I don't think we need to be, I think we should be careful and not sleeping on the fact that not only did he play NFL linebacker, he was a coach for linebackers for a very long time and very successful. And we just drafted 2 kids that we're converting from safety to linebacker, Hamza Nasruddin and Jamian Sherwood. If he can get one of these dudes to be a starter, that was a huge success.
Right.
And it would change the defense entirely, in my opinion, because if we've got a chase linebacker on that weak side, I think we could be good on defense. I think we could be really solid. And that's taking in consideration that we have a pretty weak and young secondary.
Right.
So I think our front 7 could be damn good if one of those 2 kids stands up and takes the job and I think Ulbrich could
So
be a big factor there.
so then again, that's where you got to give Jeff and Mike credit in terms of, they know what it means to be in those positions, particularly defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator, because it's just like when you go from coordinator to head coach, you're dealing with a whole new level. It's a whole new league. You're dealing with the overhead. How am I getting the team? In Robert's case, how am I getting the team overseas, or how am I, are we ready to go? Are the buses packed? Do we have our equipment? For these guys, in Jeff's case, I think he knows exactly that opportunity. Which, if you look at some of the support coaching staff that he's brought in, particularly on the defensive backside with what's his name, Marquand Manuel, who he worked with Atlanta, and was one of the big success stories that he had with his defensive backs in Atlanta. Obviously, again, long story short, same thing with Mike. They know that they can't work with every player. I mean, of course, they'll dedicate their time to players where they feel like that's where the best bang for their buck is. But in other cases, and the other 80% of the cases where the defense or the assistant coaches are dealing with the players, they're bringing in people that they trust. And on the defensive backside, he's bringing in people he worked with at Atlanta. I think that's a fantastic thing. They don't have to reestablish a connection. There's no trust issues like we had between Adam Gase and what's his face. I'm drawing a blank on our last defensive coordinator.
It was oh Lord.
Wow. Whatever. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. The guy from the Saints.
Yeah.
That's really bad. That's really bad. I just
Greg,
already erased it.
Greg is the name.
Yeah. Greg Williams.
Greg Williams. There you go. Yep, we pulled it out. Good.
Had the
All
big
right.
three that one. But yeah, so I like what they're doing on all sides of the ball. Thank you.
We'll get back to Ulbrich because I want to talk about his philosophy, or what we want his philosophy to be. So James DiPietro says, I think LaFleur's offense will have very similar traits to the Packers and the 49ers. He will have his own plays and twists on what we've seen from a Shanahan scheme. That's what I'm hoping for, and I'm agreeing with you. I hope that he isn't shy, or not shy, you know what I mean. Like, I hope he's not gun shy in putting his own twist on the offense and being creative on his own. Don't be worried about being what other people have been. Be yourself and be creative, in your own right. Corona greater than Guinness. I don't know, Mike. What do you think? Corona over Guinness. I like a Corona. I like a beer. I like a Corona.
I like. I'm with it being so nice outside, it's got to be Corona right now. Hit me up with that question when we get into November. Then I'll might have a different twist on that.
Yep. All right. Cool. I like the beer talk. You guys can throw in anything. We'll talk about whatever tonight. So Vern's he's back in the chat. Vern, good to see you, my man. Let's see. Thomas Hewitt. He says, did anybody see the tape on Mosley in OTAs? I didn't see any tape, but I saw him, and he looks really good. He looks like he's in shape. He's not been a couch potato for almost 2 years. He's been clearly working out. And I even saw some comments on Twitter. Some people think he may have even slimmed down some, which I think is good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, proof's in the pudding.
Yes. He's been sitting a long time, guys. That's what I'm worried about. We'll see, though. I'm very hopeful. I will root my balls off for that guy. I want him to be successful. I'm just a little bit concerned.
Yeah.
So Sean Bennett joins the party. Welcome, Sean Bennett. He says, he says, do you guys see CJ Mosley playing out this year with the Jets and then expecting a trade next season? That's a great question.
All depends.
I think if he plays well, I don't see why you would get rid of him unless there was like a real... I mean, I imagine there's probably a big cap savings by cutting him or trading him. But it
all depends.
Yeah. If we're like a fringe playoff team this year, like if we're 8-9 or 7-10 and we're really close, I say just keep the dude unless we're going to save a boatload of cash and there's some veteran free agents that we want to go after. We'll see, man. I think he's playing this year, no doubt. I don't think he's going anywhere. That's just my personal belief. I don't see him going anywhere. If he were going to get traded, I think it would have already happened. And I think they're counting on him to be a veteran on this team. All right. And he also throws in, I wish we had kept Terrell Basham. correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Terrell Basham was a scheme fit. I think that's the reason why he's gone. He would have probably had to have played defensive end, and I'm not sure if he would have been able to do that. James DiPietro says Ulbrich was the reason the Falcons defense improved under his control. He coached them up like Saleh does. He's got a tough road ahead, though, with the rookie DBs. This team has a tough road ahead with the rookie DBs. We have nothing but youth in the secondary. I mean, it's crazy how many young players, and we're actually going to talk about that later in this show. So, all right. Chad is reminding us that it's Greg Williams. Thank you, sir. Sean Bennett says, I hope Jeff Ulbrich is a great defensive coordinator. Yeah, dude, but we're going to get into that right now as like a philosophy. Like, what kind of philosophy do we want him to bring to this team? I have an idea in my mind, but I'm going to read the rest of these comments real quick. Thomas says, Corona summertime drink. I couldn't agree more. I'm actually getting the thirst for a Corona right now. I have a deck off the back of my house. I'm getting the itch. I want to drink a cold Corona in my rocker.
I don't think I've ever seen you drink a Corona.
Oh, I have. One of the first times I ever drank and ultimately led to vomit was Corona. So I know the taste all too well, actually. Let's see. Grant Rude says Mosley cost us $7.5 million this year. He's a Jet this year. Definitely, I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be interesting though to see what happens after this season. And then James DiPietro comes in with another comment, and he says CJ Mosley equals comeback player of the year. That could happen. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? CJ Mosley comeback.
Definitely. I don't think we ever said that's not possible. I think what we said is, given how much we reached for CJ, and given the fact he's been out for over 2 seasons.
Now, it hasn't been over 2 seasons, just under 2 seasons.
He was out all of last season.
Yes.
And then he only played 3 games of the season before that. 2 games.
So just under 2 years.
I guess that makes sense.
It's just under 2 years. Keep going, though. You make your point.
I would just say it's if he plays average, I'm going to say I still think that we're in trouble with that move, right? Because we made a move for a Pro Bowl linebacker. We didn't make a move for a middle of the road linebacker. And so, not to say that, okay, maybe this is a baby step, and then for the 22 season, he then is back to full form. But the league's changing almost on a daily basis, definitely on a season by season basis. So, and he's getting older. So if we don't really start to see a return on investment here, and we trade him next season, I think that, I don't know. I guess I'm getting off tangent. I'm just saying my bar for him in terms of, okay, this is a good move, is going to be much different for CJ than it will be for anyone else. So I think that it's just going to be a TBD on whether on where he fits with the Jets long term. But he's definitely a Jet for this year. I think that's the most important thing.
For sure. All right, we got some more chat in here. Guys, fill it up. We got like 21 people in. Fill it up. Let's get these comments rolling. This is what this show is all about. Also, feel free to call in. I do still want to talk about Ulbrich's, identity and philosophy that I think he'll bring to the team. Kyle Rake, he says, hey, Penny, I'm late, but I'm here. I apologize for being so late. I was watching Chernobyl, the excellent HBO miniseries. You and Michelle should check it out sometime. It is a really good miniseries. We plan to, sir. So for everybody out there in Jets fan land and anybody who's subscribed to this lovely channel and lovely community that we have, I am a teacher. And don't you worry, my sweet friends. In 1 month, I will be on my fat ass every single day, relaxing. It will be summer vacation. I will be watching Chernobyl. We actually did watch the first episode, and then we got sidetracked. We watched some other series. But I've read only amazing things about Chernobyl, so I appreciate the recommendation, and it's good to see you in the chat. So Chad just said, many Jets games have ultimately led to vomit, and this is so true. But coronavirus was my first bout with beer sickness. J.E., he says, and by the way, welcome back, sir. He says, is the linebacker from Baltimore, a Wunasaur, I believe his name is. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize. He says he's still on the roster. He was only on a 1-year deal, and I don't think he's even on a roster right now. So he is available, but I don't think he's on the team. I didn't realize this. The Jets have like $25 million in cap space right now. Did you know that?
I've read that somewhere. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, we're sitting on a pretty penny. So here's the thing to keep in mind. This is something else that can get you kind of excited. June 1st is creeping up soon, and that's a very common cut period in the NFL. And the Jets have money. They could sign some guys. If a couple of dudes shake free, we could fill some really serious holes on this roster after June 1st. And I think not enough people are maybe bringing that up. June 1st could be a big moment for Joe Douglas and the Jets.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I could see something like that shaking out.
Yep. All right. Vern says, can you win Comeback Player of the Year if you opted out? You definitely can, I would imagine. I can't imagine they would hold that against him. But yeah, I think he could. Let's see. Vern, he says... Or no, Gumball, I'm sorry. We need a number 1 cornerback and a number 1 edge. I think we have our number 1 edge in Carl Lawson. We have our interior rusher in Quinnen Williams. We definitely need a number 1 cornerback. Unless Bryce Hall explodes this season, we definitely need a number 1 cornerback. No doubt. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Let's see. Yes, I am a teacher. We'll get into that later. Remind me later. Sean Bennett says, say the team has a very productive year and a lot of 1-year contract players ball out. How will JD be able to re-sign a lot of those players back to longer-term contracts? That is the poison apple. That's the bittersweet part with those 1-year contracts is it's a low-risk contract, but you're not keeping these players if they do pan out. So what are your thoughts? I think we'll have a lot of money next offseason, actually. I think we'll have
I think our cap space is going to be fine, to be honest with you. I think getting into the 4th, 5th year and seeing where the team is, especially when Zach's contract comes up and depending on where Zach is, and I know Grant's going to be monitoring that very closely. That's really where we'll have to see the Jets front office really start to think creatively with how we keep our talent and whoever our talent is at that point. Who's to say some of these things don't work out? In which case, we're rotating to, we're pivoting to new individuals, new players, new talent. So it's an experiment. These 1-year contracts are an experiment. They're designed to feel out who's a fit, who's contributing to the team. And I don't think the Jets are worried about that right now. I think they want to know who's working with the team and who's not, and then they'll think about the long term once they know that they got some progress. I think, and to me as a fan, I like that. I think sometimes especially the more hardcore fans out there, you can get really lost in the sauce when it comes to getting lost in the micro and the macro of if we get this player. Yeah, he's really good, but how are we going to keep him? We want to see some excitement. We want to see some life back in this team, and a couple 1-year contracts. Yeah, we got to do some 1-year contracts and feel some things out, and maybe we're able to keep them, maybe we're not. But as a fan, I'm going to have a hell of a good time watching it. So I don't know. I try not to. At work, I have a tendency to be like, hey, things will be so much easier in 22, right? And wish time. I don't want to be like, hey, let's let that player go because we can't keep him long term. I don't know if that's the best philosophy to have, especially coming off of a horrible season like we just did.
Sure. So I do want to get to a quick comment because it responds to this comment, and I think it's a very well written comment. Sean Bennett, he doesn't have to worry about that with the picks that he has in next year's draft. And that's a good point to make. When you do these 1-year contracts, it's not necessarily you want to extend these guys the following year. You're really just looking for stopgaps. You're looking for guys to fill the roster out. And you're counting on the draft. That's what Joe Douglas' philosophy has been from the beginning, is to build the team through the draft. And you are 100% right, Grant Rood. Thank you for putting that comment in the chat. You are all over it as usual, sir, except for the phone calls. You never call us in. I'm going to call you out until you do it one day. See, Vern says we might have more. I believe Alex Lewis will be getting cut June 1st. I think that gives us another $4 to $5 million. Don't forget Ryan Griffin could get cut as well. That saves us a little bit of money as well. There's plenty of money on the Jets team right now, and I think that they can make multiple moves after June 1st if Joe Douglas decides to do such a thing. And I think that's the thing, like, a lot, I still get so annoyed when I see these tweets on Twitter, people saying, the Jets need to sign a cornerback, the Jets need to sign a cornerback, the Jets need to sign a cornerback. Nobody's signing anybody right now. The National Football League, nobody's signing players. They're all assessing their rookies. They're all assessing what they have on the team. And they're all just waiting because June 1st will be here. And then you're going to see some more movement. Players are going to get cut. Maybe some players get picked up and signed. It's a long off season. We have still several months till the NFL season begins. There's no rush for Joe Douglas to go out there and pay somebody when he doesn't even know what he has on the roster. He needs to assess these rookies. He needs to see what the team looks like. So just pump the brakes. We will get some people. I'm sure of that. So we'll see. James DiPietro says Steven Nelson would cost us around $10.5 million. Everyone is young, so give him a 2 to 3 year deal. I'd be fine with Steve Nelson. I think that's the guy that I would go after. Either him or Richard Sherman. I know a lot of people don't want Richard Sherman, but I do think his knowledge of the game and his veteran presence would be very invaluable to the young guys on our secondary. All right, so 2 more comments, and then we'll get back to the philosophy of Jeff Ulbrich. James DiPietro says Alex Lewis and Ryan Griffin would clear about $7 million. Yeah, and those are 2 guys that I would be shocked if they made the team. I don't think Alex Lewis makes the team, and I definitely don't think that Ryan Griffin makes the team. I'd be shocked. Completely shocked. Hey, I put my mug on your stream. That's true. Yeah, that's true. All right. I won't hate on it anymore then. Oh, boy. Let's see here. Let's go to before we move on to the next topic, let's just wrap it all up. Jeff Ulbrich, again, this is for the chat as well, guys. I want to hear what you guys think about what could be the philosophy, or what do you think the philosophy he will bring to the team? What kind of identity will we have on defense? Mike, I pass it to you. Don't necessarily tell me what you think he's good at, but just tell me what you think the defense will look like and play like.
That's a good question. I mean, I was kind of looking through it and, taking a look at I watched a few just random Atlanta clips. I mean, obviously, the big thing is, it's hard for me to answer that question because I was like, how much is Robert's hands going to be in it versus Jeff? That was one of the big things that's kind of I've been thinking about a lot. So I kind of get myself in a mental tongue tie. I think the one thing that they both like is a lot of speed, just like a fast tempo on the defense. Same thing as what we were saying on the offense. I think it's going to be interesting what they do with the defensive line.
That was my first word on philosophy is speed.
Yeah. I think that to me, one of the big focal points of the defense is going to be how they use, Quinnen Williams, how they use that 4-man rush, rotating them around, bringing them some to the left, some to the right. So I think the line, in my honest opinion, is really where that defense is going to be built on. That's going to be the motor of the all gas, no brake. And then you start to bring into, the X factors, and the X factors really are the linebackers. I don't think that this defense, both Robert and Ulbrich, they know they're not going to lean on that secondary, not in the next 2 years. So that means that most of the defense is going to be putting the pressure on with the 4-man rush, and then either using CJ or using one of the other linebackers as that X factor to either make a big play out there in coverage or to blitz the heck out of whoever we're playing. So to me, it's going to be speed. It's really going to be dependent on the 4-man rush and how they use Quinnen Williams, and then how they creatively use the linebacker crew at that point.
I agree with everything about the four-man rush. I think that's a basic principle of this defense is they have to go bananas and ape shit toward the quarterback. They have to get hits on him or else it doesn't work. Speed, definitely. The one thing that I'm kind of hoping for is I hope that, especially year one, because there's going to be bumps in the road with this defense, I'm kind of hoping that they simplify it and they make it easy for these guys to play fast. Put the players in positions to be able to read and react. Don't make them have to make a ton of decisions on the football field or have to think a lot. Like, let them play fast. I think that's the thing that you hear a lot is let the defensive players play fast. That's what I'm hoping most for this first year, as they install this new defense. I'm hoping that they make it as simple as possible for the young kids and also just so that they can just go bananas on the field. Let them go like they're going to war, basically, every Sunday. All right, that's pretty much it. We got a couple of comments, and then we'll move on to the next topic. Thomas Lattimore, I think, had some legal troubles. If anybody wants to do a quick Google search for that and put it in the chat, I will post it on here. Lattimore from the Saints, could we pry him away if they can't extend him? It's possible, but there were some legal things that happened, and so maybe the Jets do not, maybe they're not interested in trying to pry him away because of that issue. Sean Bennett says that Saleh is going to part the Green Sea and lead the team to the promised land. We hope.
Thomas Hewitt still got that positivity, man.
What's that?
He's got that overwhelming positivity.
He really does. He really, really does. Let's see. Sorry, I'm struggling here. Vern, he says, Ulbrich more of a figurehead. Bob will be running the D. Speed tackling and QB pressure is what's going to make or break us. I think that Robert Saleh will definitely have his hand in the game planning for the defensive side, but I don't think he's going to be doing anything on game day. I don't think that Robert Saleh is going to call the plays. We already know he's not going to call the plays. I think that Ulbrich's going to be running the show especially on game day, and I think that he'll be in charge of the defense. Gumball throws in a good comment. He says, trade for Ryan Ramczyk. If the Saints can't extend him, we need a right tackle. Again, I'm open to anything. I'm open to trading. I'm fine with trading. And actually, that's one of the topics tonight, Gumball. So I'm glad you're throwing that in there. We do have a trade targets topic later in the show. So we will get to that. Stephen Engel, I don't recall you being here before, but if you have, I appreciate you coming back. Welcome, sir. He says, we don't need a right tackle. Fan is very athletic for this outside zone scheme. That is generally my opinion, and it has been my opinion all offseason. They need to stick with George Fant. He is one of the people that actually played on this team last year. You can't replace the entire offensive line in one offseason. Stephen Engel, dude, he says he's brand new, so we got to make a bigger friggin' deal out of this. Welcome to the channel. We are happy to have you, dude. Great to see you. Hopefully you enjoy the show.
Welcome.
And you consider subscribing. Vern, he says, you can cut Fant and save a ton at right tackle. Addition would be interesting. My only concern is, again, you're replacing basically the entire offensive line. I don't know if that's a good idea. I think we need to have some veterans with some experience on the team. But I do hear what you're saying, though. Replacing him for an improvement is obviously a great idea, and I'm not opposed to any of that stuff. I just don't know how likely it is. Let's see. Ryan Griffin is a goner. Has anyone in this group ever felt better about our Jets than now? That deserves a Jets chant.
Jets chant.
Oh. It's been so long since I feel like I've had this positive energy and seen this positive energy. That's awesome. Steven is subscribed. So while I have that little moment here, just a little heads up, guys. I did a little analytics study here, and I watched my last video. Only 36% of you who watched my last video are subscribed. If you've been lurking in the shadows and you're a stalker of my channel, consider subscribing. We would love to have you. There's no reason to not subscribe, especially if you enjoy watching the stuff that I post. And it supports the channel. It keeps me motivated and to keep me creating content for you guys. So
Who
anyway,
saw the trailer posted on Sunday? Because I thought that thing was smoking. If anyone hasn't seen the trailer for the NFL draft for our rookies, you should check that out. I think you did a heck of a job, John.
yeah,
I think that thing came out really good.
yeah, there is a hype trailer on the channel. If you guys are interested, you can watch it, obviously. All right, we're going to move forward here. The next topic is going to be about our running back depth chart, and we're also going to talk a little bit about the committee that I think is going to definitely be happening. Mike, do you want to talk at all about the depth chart? Where do you, how do you see it stacking? Who do you see maybe getting cut? Right now on the roster, we've got Tevin Coleman, Ty Johnson, Michael Carter, LaMichael Pirine, Josh Adams, and I think we have another kid as well who we just signed from the 49ers, I believe. I don't know the name off the top of my head. What do you think, Mike? How's it stacking up? I think I already know how it's going to play out.
I'm going to just kind of go to where I'm most excited, which is I think Michael Carter can be a much bigger part of that depth chart and go up the ranks. I read some articles where he could easily find himself in competing for the starting role, depending on how Michael Carter.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of excitement about what he can do and what he brings to what has been a very stale running attack and old, a very mature talent base between Le'Veon Bell and Frank Gore that we've been running over the last few years. Obviously as the depth chart stands, I believe they got Tevin Coleman as the tentative starter. Ty Johnson, again, Michael Carter, and then Pirine. I think how the thing ends up shaking out is I think Tevin Coleman does start the season as the starter, but I think Michael Carter is the second in rotation, and then I have Pirine ahead of Ty Johnson.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing at you while you were talking. Stephen Engel, he asked us where we're from, and I said Maryland, and he said, sorry to hear that. You got jokes, and that's why we're happy to have you here. We like that. So James reminded us of the running back that we signed from the 49ers. I could not remember what his name was, but I knew it was from the 49ers. So let's see. All right, cool. We got a couple of comments, but nothing too crazy here. So I'm going to go through what I think will happen. So first of all, I partially agree with you. I think it's either going to be Tevin Coleman as the week 1 starter or Ty Johnson. I actually like Ty Johnson a lot this season if he can get some playing time. If he can get some opportunities, I think Ty Johnson could really pop this season. I had said that I really like the Tevin Coleman signing, and I still do like it. But I would prefer to see some of the young guys play. I would rather see Ty Johnson play. I would rather see Michael Carter play now that we invested in the running back spot. Tevin Coleman should really be, in my opinion, he should only be really used as a third down running back, a guy who can come in and block and receive. I don't really want to see him out there a whole lot on first and second down. Not to say that he's not a good runner. I just don't really see the need for it. I think it would be better if they kept him as a pass protector on third down. I think that he would be solid in that department. So I do think that he's going to make the roster. I would be surprised if he didn't. But we have Ty Johnson, Tevin Coleman. I think that's going to be a really interesting battle to watch. I don't think that Michael Carter will be the week 1 starter. I think that would be surprising.
I think he's second. I think he's second in roster though.
Sure, and he will get. Will get. We've been talking about that tonight. How they're going to include multiple people on the depth chart. It's not going to just be a one-man show like Frank Gore, and then LaMichael Pirine getting 2 carries a game. Like they're going to mix it up a lot on offense. So I agree with you in that regard. I think that Pirine, Adams, and maybe Coleman, if he has like a bad training camp or if he gets hurt, obviously, I think those 3 are at risk for being cut. I never really loved the LaMichael Pirine pick. He's the kind of player where it's like a high ceiling, but a high floor, but a low ceiling. He was never gonna be like an explosive running back in the National Football League. And I just feel like that was like a safe pick. I didn't really like it. There was no real boom potential with him, so I think he may get cut. I also said that I would be shocked if it ever becomes a one-man show backfield. I think it's going to be more like the Green Bay backfield where they feature two guys pretty consistently.
Yeah.
As far as the like roles that they might play, I don't necessarily see a goal line back in this offense. I think they'll ride the hot hand a lot of the times. Whoever's ripping some ripping some good runs. I think they'll just give that guy the chance to score at the goal line. I don't think there's anybody on the team right now that can't run it inside the 5 yard line.
But didn't P Ryan have what was Ty Johnson's stats for last year?
He had about 250 yards, give or take.
It was very similar to P Ryan, though, right? I mean, I remember looking at both of them, and I actually want to say P Ryan has more touchdowns. I mean, one more touchdown, I think. I think he had two, and the Ty's one. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not too distant. I would just be curious. You just think that Ty Johnson has a more explosive play style? I guess that's what yours.
He had more He had more yards per carry. He averaged a better yard per carry average. LaMichael P. Ryan was like under 4 yards per carry, which is not very good. And the offensive line was not good, but Ty Johnson was able to do it. He was able to get some decent yards per carry. And LaMichael, although not a bad receiver, I don't think he has the same upside as Ty Johnson receiving the football. And when he gets the ball in his hands, he can make a big play happen. Ty Johnson's got some pretty good speed at the running back spot. And I don't really – that's kind of the reason why I don't like the LaMichael P. Ryan draft pick is he was not explosive. He was not a guy that you could say, like, he has a shot to be a star.
I mean, not the gap between – I mean, I know you're saying as far as potential. I had a call come in. Hopefully you guys can still see me.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, but I mean, the gap between them isn't that extensive, I guess. I mean, I know what you're saying as far as just natural talent, but I mean, as far as production, I mean, I'm looking at the stats now, and I'm just like, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's 4.7 versus 3.6 for Ty versus LaMichael, but it's another
almost a full yard.
It's a full yard ahead of LaMichael, but I don't know. I guess I need to monitor a little bit more, I guess, so I can make a better input on it. But at least we agree on Michael Carter being that kind of explosive number 2 to whoever wins the starting role at that point. So we're not too far off.
I think P. Ryan's going to get cut. I think I'm almost willing to bet that one. I think there's a couple of running backs that I like more than him for sure. So my ultimate prediction right now is I see Michael Carter obviously making the team. I see Ty Johnson making the team, and I see Tevin Coleman making the team. I think if he's eligible, I think they'll try to put Josh Adams on the practice squad. I don't know if he's eligible though anymore. I think he's been in the NFL too long. But I don't think the backfield's bad at all. I think it's actually a nice little mix of veteran. There's some youth. There's some explosiveness. So we'll go ahead and we'll have to wait and see. We'll talk about the committee breakdown in just a few seconds. We didn't really hit on that yet. Gumball says, we need to sign Frank Gore immediately. I hear he's a good leader. Let's see. Steven, he says, my family's in Bel Air. Are you near there? Not far. Let's see. Sean Bennett comes in with a question, which I love. Questions are awesome. He says, John, do you see a 1,500-yard player from scrimmage? And he means rushing and receiving. Or do you just see 4 offensive players with 800 or more yards? And actually, that's exactly the scenario that I see.
Yeah.
My prediction for who I think will be the number 1 wide receiver is Corey Davis, and I don't even really see him getting much more than like 1,000 yards. Like that's going to be, I think that's going to be about what he gets, and that's not a bad thing because I think they're going to spread the wealth a lot on offense. I think they're going to be trying to get Denzel Mims touches. They're going to try and get Keelan Cole involved. Elijah Moore is obviously going to get some touches as well. So I think because of the nature of our depth at receiver, I think that we will not have anybody over that 1,500-yard scrimmage yards. I would be shocked if we had somebody over 15. If you told me 12, maybe I could buy into that. Maybe one of our running backs is able to get, like 800, 900 rushing yards, and then a couple more hundred receiving. I mean, 1,200 for a receiver would be awesome. If Zach Wilson can connect with somebody and get 1,200 yards, that would be sweet. Definitely don't see 1,500 though. All right. Zach Wilson, 3,000 passing yards this year. If he starts all 17 games, if he's in there for every single game, if he doesn't throw for 3,000 yards, we've got a problem. And I don't care that he's a rookie. Care that we have a lot of young guys.
Yep.
He needs to perform. He needs to play well. We can't be in limbo again where we were kind of wondering about Darnold going into year 3. We need to know that this man is the truth. And I want him to have stats. I know stats don't tell the whole thing, but I want him to have the stats to back it up and to prove that he's the man. So, yes, I expect 3,000 yards. What do you think, Mike?
Oh, I totally agree. Now, we did both me and you said they gotta establish the running game. They gotta be run dominant so that they can spread out the offense. Which is why I was a big fan of this topic in terms of, how do we use this running back by committee? How does that relate to LaFleur's play calling? To me, I think you hit on it, and I think I was alluding to it, but I think who wins the starting role obviously doesn't dictate how the workload distribution is going to be, but what it will tell us is kind of, it gives us an understanding of a little bit about how Mike LaFleur is going to, approach first and second down, in my opinion. To me, if Carter gets the position, John, to me, that would tell me that, that would tell me Mike LaFleur could do some more and maybe some crazier, more explosive play calls on the first and second down versus if Tevin Coleman gets it, I think that says a different story where it's going to be more of that kind of outside zone run. Not to say he can't do that with any of these running backs, but to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think who wins that running, that first spot on the roster, on the depth chart for running back, kind of gives me a little bit of insight on how LaFleur is going to call first and second down, which is pretty interesting to me. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but that's kind of what's going through my mind right now.
All right, cool. Nothing wrong with any of that. Let's see. Vern says, I think that we can carry more than 3 running backs. The system does like to run 3 to 4 guys a game. If we kept 4 running backs, that would be cool. I'd be fine with that. Generally, they keep 3 on the roster, though. I mean, I could be wrong. I think that's pretty normal, though, 3 running backs on the 53-man roster. Not counting a fullback if they decide to have one on the roster. Yes, my wife says, let's watch Chernobyl. Don't you worry, my dear. We will be watching that in about 1 more month. James DiPietro says 17 games now, so 2 1,000-yard receivers isn't unlikely given how Zach can get the ball to them. That would be great. I would be shocked if we had 2 1,000-yard receivers, but hey, hell yeah, sign up for that all day. Yes, and I agree. It will be a classic running back by committee, especially early on in the year. I think they're going to want to give everybody opportunities, and the guys that make the big plays, the guys that make the most of their opportunities, those are the men that you're going to see week 5, week 6, week 7. They start to cement themselves as the 1A or the 1A or the 1B option on the running back committee. Chernobyl, a.k.a. Adam Gase's offense. It melts your face. It mutates you. That was a good one, Thomas. Alrighty. We've pretty much hit on that. We'll go to the next topic. And this one is where it gets a little bit dicey. We've got some cornerback depth issues, and I'm going to go first. I'm not going to even give you the opportunity to go first this time.
Take it.
I am going to take it because here is the current depth chart, or whatever, not the depth chart, the current players that we have at corner on the team. We have Jason Pinnock, who we just drafted out of Pitt. He's 21 years old. We drafted Michael Carter II from Duke. He's 22 years old. We have Javelin Guidry, who is returning from last season. He's 22 years old. We have Lamar Jackson, the cornerback, returning from last year. He's 23. Zane Lewis, who I know nothing about, 23. Bryce Hall, I love him. I think he could be a cornerback too, but he's only 23. Brandon Eccles, we drafted, 23. Blesson Austin, 24 years old. And Corey Ballantyne, I believe, is also on the team. He's only 25. I don't believe we have any other cornerbacks on the roster. So every single cornerback is 25 or under as far as age goes. And if you're not looking at Blesson Austin and Corey Ballantyne, everybody else is 23 and under. So it's so young and so inexperienced. Like, it's crazy. It probably is the least experienced cornerback room in the entire NFL. Agree? Have to
I
agree,
totally
right?
agree. Totally agree.
So I just said that it goes without saying they're extremely young. I said, who's going to be the starters? Who will be the backups? If we had to say right now, because maybe they add a veteran and it'll change things. Who do you start week 1? Who would be your backups? And then I said, do you think that Joe Douglas would be making a mistake by not signing one of the veteran free agents, assuming that they make a move after June 1st?
To me, I mean, obviously Bryce Hall is a guarantee, right? He's starting. I'd say I'd say Guidry is probably one of the success stories, I guess, in so many ways. Um, I mean, the guy's blazing fast. I think he ran like a 4.2 in the combine, if I remember correctly. Has a huge upside. I don't think he's on easy street, so I still think he's got to work his ass off
A roster.
for the roster spot.
Yeah.
But I would say, second to Bryce Hall, I think Guidry is probably the next projected in line in terms of talent that we have in the secondary. And then after Guidry, for me, it starts to get interesting at that point. Where are you on Guidry?
So Guidry is going to have to be a slot corner. He's very short. He's not going to play on the outside ever. I think he's only like 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah, he's tiny.
The one thing I will tack on to what you said is not only is he fast and he played his ass off last year, I believe he forced like 3 fumbles.
Yeah.
So he's like extremely feisty and aggressive. I like that a lot about Guidry. So the one player, and my wife just said that she likes him, Blesson Austin.
Yeah.
He plays aggressive. I actually think he's out of position. I think he should be a safety. He's not very good in coverage as a corner. He gets burned a lot. He gets a little bit grabby. He gets a lot of penalties. He is a very strong tackler, though. And that's why I feel like Blesson, he's been playing out of position since he's been in the NFL. I think he would be an outstanding.
So you switch him with Marcus May or Joyner?
I'm not saying switch him for anybody. I'm just saying he shouldn't be a corner. I think he'd be better off as a safety.
Okay.
So I think he.
I don't
know if Blesson.
Are you confident in the safeties where they're at with Joyner and May?
I like Joyner as a 1-year stopgap. I like May, and I like Ashton Davis as a third safety. Yeah. Yes, I do think our safety room, although not fantastic, it definitely has some potential to be solid this year, I think.
Yeah, I like Corey Ballantyne. I'm really high. I just think that a very high ceiling. He would play what, left side, right? They would probably put him on.
Anything about him?
I was just reading just like I have a couple of notes here on him. I don't have any stats. So I was hoping, and then obviously you got Jason Pinnock, who a lot of people, there's a lot of fanfare for Pinnock, So I don't know. Some people have Pinnock ahead of Guidry in just terms of talent and capability. So it's a very interesting. I mean, I don't know about you. Like reading just notes and reading different articles about just our grade for our defensive backs and where they think they're going to shake out. Every news outlet or every analyst was different in what they thought about the talent and who they thought was going to bring the most. So it's a very open. I mean, if you were one of these guys, I mean, it's the Wild West. You can make it. You have an equal opportunity to make that starting roster if you're one of those guys on the D-backs. So I think that's great because they're going to play their ass off to try to make the team.
that's the best thing that you could say about this depth chart because there's so many unknowns right now.
Yeah.
The best case scenario, or the scenario that we should be hoping for here, is that there's so much competition, that young competition, that the cream will rise to the top. Like, that's what you have to hope for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jason Pinnock, you hope he steals a starter job. You hope that Bryce Hall comes back and plays really well this year. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Is Bryce Hall's definitely going to be a starter, and then that second cornerback spot, I have no damn clue. Maybe Pinnock. That's a dicey risk. He's a 6th round pick.
Yeah. You could have a Rudy situation on your hands. You got Justin Hardy sitting back there. He's technically a corner.
No. He is a
I
pure.
like that guy, dude.
He played one snap. He played one snap on defense for the Saints.
I like that guy, dude. I like the energy he brings. So I'm gonna root for him.
All right, let's get to some comments. Sean Bennett, he says, I'm looking forward to seeing Jason Pinnock cover some wide receivers in the red zone. Yeah, he's a nice size, nice length, and he played really well. So I don't know all the stats off the top of my head, but he's one of the higher rated corners in the draft according to PFF. Actually, he statistically and analytically was a very solid corner coming out of Pitt. Kyle is always talking about you, Mike. He says, I underestimated Mike because the first time I saw him, he was downing green Jell-O shots and yelling a lot. But the dude knows his football and is pretty thoughtful in his analysis of the Jets.
Kyle, I love you, man. You're always throwing me some bones. Everyone else, yep. Grant always picks on me, so Kyle, I appreciate it.
Yep. Vern says, I absolutely love Michael Carter, as you may know. Now, Vern, are you talking about Michael Carter II from Duke? I believe that's who you're referring to. If you are, tell us why you like him so much. Tell us what you love about his game. Let's see. Kyle throws in that competition will be a good thing. Sean Bennett says, I'll just be happy with good player depth in the secondary. Yeah, I mean, again, there are going to be lapses. There is going to be games where they play poorly. Like, everybody can sign on that one. I think we can all agree. The secondary will have bad games, but I would absolutely take that any day of the week over having a terrible pass rush. You have to pressure the quarterback. It doesn't matter how good your secondary is. If you've got bums at the defensive line, you're not doing jack. You're not doing anything. Yeah. Unless you have 2 Revises back there. Vern says that Carter could steal the 2 spot. Interesting. So he really thinks highly of Michael Carter from Duke. Grant Rude, I thought you fell asleep. Thought those Bruce hit too hard, man. He says Guidry Hall will benefit from the zone scheme, which is great. He says, but who the hell plays opposite of Hall? That's what I'm trying to figure out. And Hall is a cornerback 2 at best. Pass rush is going to have to help them out big time. And I think that's actually one of my notes, is the fact that because we have an improved defensive line and we should have a better pass rush, you just have to hope that because of that, these guys cannot feel the pressure, to have to cover all day, every day.
Or like you said, maybe someone shakes loose after, in June, and we could have a totally different situation, a totally different talent pool than what we have right now.
Yeah, think about if we had Steve Nelson and Bryce Hall as our starters on the outside. You've got competition behind them, and then you've got some young guys in the slot. I think that would work out really nicely, actually. And like you said, if we trade for somebody, or if somebody gets cut and we sign them, the whole dynamic in the secondary can change just by signing one player. So I would. All right, cool. Sean Bennett says play zone defenses 45% of the time. Are you saying that that's what the Jets will do? I think they need to play a lot of zone defense. They need to let these young guys just react. Don't make them think too much. I think that's the way to go, especially with the youth that we have. My depth chart right now for the cornerback room is Bryce Hall, cornerback 1. Don't like that. Jason Pinnock, I have as my second cornerback. Slot cornerback number 1 is Javelin Guidry. Slot cornerback 2, I actually have Michael Carter the second. And then I have Brandon Eccles and Blesson Austin behind them at the cornerback spot. So I just think we all need to understand that the secondary is going to play not so good at certain times during the season. I think that's okay.
Which is where that D line comes in.
I hope we have a ferocious pass rush. I hope Quinnen Williams becomes the second best defensive tackle in the NFL.
Yeah.
It just would be great. Gumball, another name. Somebody's always throwing names in the chat, and I love that because it gives me homework to do. So he's saying Stingley in next year's draft. I assume that's a cornerback that he's mentioning. Again, I'm going to be doing my homework on the draft all season during the college football season. So I will look into that name. Thank you for throwing that into the chat. Yeah, I am down on Bless Austin. I think when you watch the tape and when you pay attention to people that really know football, and I'll refer to Jets X Factor. They're fantastic with their game tape analysis, and they talk often about how Blasson really uses poor technique in his coverage and often is out of position. If he can patch it up, if he gets some good coaching, sure, absolutely. I would love for that to happen. But I don't see it happening. He's already, 24 years old. He's been playing for the Jets now for the past 2 years. You never know, though. Maybe he surprises. Anthony Marengo, welcome back to the channel. He says, are we going to sign a veteran quarterback? I don't want to spoil it, but that's one of my trade targets. But I do think they'll make a move for a veteran. But again, I think they're waiting. There's no rush. There are a couple of options on the table. It's kind of like the cornerback position. Nothing is happening right now in free agency, so we just need to stay kind of patient with the lack of movement, if you will. Sean Bennett, I will get to your question. Thank you for throwing it in there. Let's go to the next topic. We're doing nicely right now. We got a good pace here, and it is our trade targets topic. What's going on, Wicked?
Wicked's in the house.
Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming back. If you guys have not liked the video or liked the stream yet, please consider doing that. And again, if you're watching it live right now and you're not subscribed, we are getting close to another giveaway. I would love some feedback on that, what you guys were thinking for another giveaway. We're going to do a 1K giveaway. That's my my new lingo there. So I was leaning towards Jets mini helmets, giving away a couple of Jets mini helmets, but I'm open to anything. So if you guys want to throw a couple of ideas for the next giveaway, it's going to be when we have 1,000 subscribers. Kind of hoping we can get there, right around the beginning of the season. Grant Rude says, I want a shirt. He does. And he always says that. I will give him. It's kind of like the Elijah Moore thing. He always says it. He's a man of the word, this Grant Rude guy. Shirts would be great. Ooh, a Zach Wilson rookie card. That's not a big enough giveaway. I want to give you guys a real treat. So, let's see here. Where am I at? Oh, yeah. Trade targets. Do you want to go first? I got some targets.
Why don't we just alternate?
You first?
Corner's on top of my list. And I kind of split. I think the one I kept coming back to is Stephon Gilmore. I think that would be an awesome opportunity, apparently. Or
hold on, wait a minute.
Give me a thumbs down.
He plays for what team?
Why does that matter, dude? Don't matter.
He plays for the Patriots. They're not going to trade Stephon Gilmore to the Jets. You're out of your mind.
I'm just saying. I'm just going based on who's out there. Okay, I'm not saying realistic. I'm not going based on realism. As a runner-up, I had a player from Houston, Bradley. Oh yeah, Bradley Roby.
Sure.
I think that was a cap situation, so they might not have a choice there. So, but definitely going corner with. So those are my top 2 corners on my list. So corner would be my first trade target on my list.
Sean Bennett said flop.
There's nothing wrong with
taking
from our own pool.
Oh, Lord. Grant Rude, he's in the chat. He says Sewell at 2, Gilmore as a trade target.
I don't think it's that unrealistic. I don't think it is.
All right. Just messing with you, man. It's okay. The Jets actually traded with the Patriots for the receiver, Demaryius Thomas. So it's not impossible. I just don't think they would give us Stephon Gilmore. I don't see that happening. Anyway, my number one trade target on my list, I don't really have these in order necessarily. It's David Njoku, tight end from the Cleveland Browns. I know a lot of people are they want to be patient with the tight end spot. They want to wait till next off season. He is 24 years old. In 2018, his second year in the NFL, he had 56 receptions, 639 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He kind of has a similar career arc as Herndon, not quite as tragic, but he kind of popped early and then kind of fell off a little bit. I would love somebody as athletic and as young as Njoku, and he is explosive. I would love Njoku on this offense, and I would like to hear what you guys think about him on this team competing with Herndon. I don't think it would take a ton of draft capital to get him. And again, you have to keep in mind all of these draft picks we have next year. We could afford to give away a mid-round pick for Njoku, and the boom potential for that kind of move, I think, is very much worth it. Do I think they'll do it? No, I don't. But if it were me, if I were in charge, I would be targeting David Njoku for sure, all day, every day. That's my guy for a trade target. Since you gave 2 corners, I'm going to give one of my other tight ends, OJ Howard from the Tampa Bay
Buccaneers. He's next on my list for sure.
Yeah. So the only thing with him is he did have an Achilles injury.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a serious injury. That's the one thing that you would have to weigh, when you're taking that risk. But he's only 25 years old. He's been very consistent during his career. He had over 400 yards in the first 3 seasons in the NFL. I did say that they might opt to keep him because they're just trying to make another Super Bowl run, basically. Right. So they may not be interested in even trading him. But if they were interested, I'd be jumping all over him. I would be taking a risk for sure about that.
I'm huge on OJ Howard. The Achilles injury doesn't scare me that much. I mean, the guy's still putting up numbers. Incredible target, incredible opportunity for Zach. It's got the speed that OJ Howard has at his size.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. And that's kind of what the last point you made, where it's basically we're gift wrapping Zach Wilson another weapon. And that's kind of my idea here, is that we are trying to support him as much as possible. And that's why all of my trade targets, almost all of them, are tight ends. Who else do you got on your list? Do you got anybody else?
I want to hear who your veteran quarterback is, because
Sure.
I have one.
Yep. So my quarterback, if we were going to trade for somebody to be a backup quarterback, I think Gardner Minshew would be awesome.
I have Gardner.
He'd be awesome. So he's actually a pretty solid quarterback, number one. He's young.
Nick Foles.
Okay. That's a trash trade target, but Gardner's only.
Go ahead, give me the sound effect. I want it.
I'll give it to you in a second. Gardner is only 25. He'd be a really good backup to Wilson. He's very, very smart. That's actually one of his high upside, traits, is that he's very, very bright. And I think that Gardner would be everything that we need him to be. He could come in and play if Zach did get hurt, and it wouldn't be like the offense would just crumble. He's a competent backup quarterback, and I would really like him on the team, and I think that he would fit the scheme nicely. He actually is quite mobile, and so I think that we wouldn't skip a beat with him as the backup. So that's my quarterback that I would trade for.
I was just looking as far as what that individual could do for Zach, as far as just development and maturity, and being able to. I just see this huge spot. I like Nick Foles. I think he could do a lot for Zach. I think he'd be a great mentor for Zach. Do I think that in the event that we had to lean on Nick Foles versus Minshew, I think you make valid points. I think that Minshew would definitely fit in, and I would have greater confidence. But Nick Foles has his resume speaks for itself. I don't think that I necessarily lose sleep with Nick Foles back there. I mean, our eggs are in the basket of keeping Zach safe, making sure that Zach can make plays, positioning Zach to be the franchise quarterback and to prove to everyone out there, whether you like the pick, whether you didn't like the pick, that Zach means business. And so part of that is how do you position what's best to position Zach, not just to protect the team in the case that we have some type of catastrophe or something like that. And I think Nick Foles has that kind of experience to pass along to Zach. I don't think you can knock that.
I don't actually hate that. I don't hate it. I was just busting your balls. I actually don't mind that at all. Nick Foles would be fine. I don't know if you need to trade for him. I don't think we would need to trade for him. I think he probably will be a cut before we would trade for him.
He'll be at the bus stop. We'll just pick him up.
Yeah. So funny comment. I want to get to it. Kyle says, Penny, I hope you were paying attention. Sean wants a Zach Wilson rookie card. Vern wants a mini helmet. And Grant Rude wants a t-shirt. You should probably be writing all of this down so you remember it. That's kind of funny. No, they're not going to be autographed. And no, you may not have my Jets flag. Gumball throws in a trade target.
Stingy.
He says a 2022 Seattle first-round pick for Nick Bosa. I don't think the Niners would bite on that for a second. I think it would take a lot more ammo to get Nick Bosa. I would love to have Nick Bosa, but I don't think he's a trade target, in my opinion. It would be a great move, though, if that were the cost. Sean Bennett does give you a fist bump, and he says, you're still my boy, Mike. So don't feel too bad, Mikey.
About the Nick Foles?
Yeah, no. I think he was referring to your trade for Stephon Gilmore.
You gotta
Kyle,
believe.
This is an interesting one. He says, how about giving away Jets season tickets? Maybe not season tickets, but a ticket to a Jets game. That's not a bad idea. It would be a little bit expensive for me. I was thinking.
Oh, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, I was going to say, I was thinking maybe something under $100. I'm not trying to spend like $300 on this giveaway. Let's see. Okay, Michelle threw in the chat. She says, Grant, I have been researching the shirts. So TBD, I guess, on that one. We have a celebrity. James Morgan is in the chat, folks. The backup quarterback, the current man, Captain Morgan himself is in the chat. Morgan season, baby. Good to have you here, James. Hope you subscribe to the channel, man, because you might not be on the team after this offseason. Vern says, I like Njoku, but injury prone. I wouldn't give up much. Maybe a fourth. Never liked him. Oh, he says, I never liked OJ. He drops too many balls. Okay. I would take the upside. I would take the swing for sure. A fourth round pick, I would do that deal right now for sure. You're supplying your quarterback with another weapon. Let's see. There's a lot of comment. You guys are starting to blow up a little bit. Anthony Marengo says, realistically, what impact do you expect from Kenny Yeboah? Rather than trading for a tight end, I read such good things about him. I have him making the team. I think Kenny Yeboah is on the team. I think he will be on the 53-man roster, assuming they don't trade for a tight end. I think it's going to be Chris Herndon, Tyler Kroft, who they just signed, and I think Kenny Yeboah. I think he would be the third tight end. I think that would be awesome. What do I expect from him? I think that's the only thing I can sit here and say is that I expect him to make the team. As far as statistically goes, I have no clue. I mean, it just depends. He would have to be given an opportunity in a game, and if he's given those opportunities, he's going to need to make something happen, or else he's probably going to stay buried on the depth chart. So, I do like your question, though. I love questions, guys. That's where I want this channel to be going, is your questions and me and Mike and I talking about them.
What's your temperature on?
What's up?
What's your temperature on Zach on Earth?
I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
I have him on my list, actually, but I said I don't like the idea. He's 30 years old, and just this past season, he averaged less than 10 yards per reception.
But you think it'd change the scenery? He would have a rebirth?
No, I don't. I'm not a fan of that move at all. If we make that move, I will be very disappointed. I think that would be a mistake. He's not only is he 30, he's on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah.
Jason Witten played for years after 30 years old. This guy is showing that he's on the downside. He's not
Yeah.
on the upside. He's on the downside. Vern says Gardner is he's kind of a weird guy. I don't know if I want him around Zach. I don't know if he's weird. He looks funny. He talks funny. He's very smart though, and actually he's a really cool dude.
But between Garner and another quarterback, it doesn't have to be Foles. Do you see that? Is there any development there for Zach that you're getting with Gardner, or is it purely what they can do in the event that they have to start?
No, that's why I said I think Gardner's really smart. I think he wins with his smarts a lot of the times. He's not the most athletic. He's not the strongest armed quarterback. He wins with his brain, and I think that's where I think Zach, dude, you are vibrating like constantly.
Is it?
Yeah.
Having an earthquake over here.
Yeah, for real. So yeah, I think that Minshew would offer a lot as far as like mentoring and being able to teach him. He's started quite a number of games now in the NFL. But you're right. Nick Foles obviously has played more football than Gardner, so for that reason, I'd be fine with it. Michelle says no Minshew. Oh, let's see. Foles makes a fortune. Okay, that could be a problem. James Morgan is still here. James, thanks so much. He says, John and Mike, Zach Wilson wasn't a captain in his third year at BYU, but I was a captain my first year at FIU after transferring. If you need a leader, you've got that in me. Hashtag QB1. You, sir, are a legend. But that's not true. Zach Wilson was a captain. They didn't know who the starter was going into his third year? After he had yeah, that's what it was. So they didn't know who the starter was. They didn't know who won the competition. And so they weren't going to assign him to be a captain if they didn't know who the starter was at the quarterback spot. They've explained that in the media, but he was a captain this past year. His teammates actually pushed for him to be a captain because he won the job late and they felt like he should be a captain. So that's why he has that C on his little chest. All right. Yes. Spitting lies. Agreed. All right. Let's see. We got Kyle talking about the Bears. We're going to skip right over that. He does say please take Nick Foles though. And yeah, he's asking would we take him for a bag of potato chips? Definitely. Vern says, is Wesco going to make the team as a fullback / tight end? I think if he were going to make the team, he'd make it as a fullback. I like the upside of Kenny Yeboah over Wesco. There are some people that disagree with that take. I don't think that Wesco makes the team unless he is a fullback. What say you?
I think that's accurate. I would love to see him as the fullback, though. I think that's a perfect role for him. I think he does a lot, and I love a team that plays a fullback. I mean that I think Kyle will agree with me and others out there. I think running a fullback is the way to go. And if they could do it, if Roger Goodell would take the stick out of his ass, I think I would like to see a leather helmet day. I think that would be pretty sick too.
I can't agree with that one.
Oh, come on. It would be, I wouldn't say, I don't want to see concussions. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying something like, I don't know, go back to like what the rules were in like 2005 versus what they are now.
You're out of control. This is what I have to work with, folks.
I'm just saying. Does anyone miss Tagliabue? I do.
Oh, I do. I love Tagliabue. Paul Tagliabue is fantastic. Thomas says Ertz is shot. The word or the phrase that I use is that he's washed. He's done. Dunzo. I do not want Ertz on this team. Let's see. Foles gets $3.5 million this year, so he's not making too much money. Thanks for posting that, Grant Rude. Yeah, he'd be great as the backup. I'd be fine with that move, no doubt. I would prefer Minshew, but that does not mean that I'd be upset with Foles as the backup. James Morgan. He's laying the back down.
Dude, he really is, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, James Morgan, hit us up on Twitter.
Yeah. Vern says, imagine if Morgan is good and we have a QB controversy. That is a dreamland. That is a dreamland. I hope he does play well in the preseason, though, because maybe we could, trade him away, kind of like Green Bay did all those years ago. Quarterback, I think it was Matt Flynn or something like that.
I think you're right.
Seattle. That would be awesome. I hope he has an awesome preseason. James Morgan says he couldn't even beat out an over-the-hill Flacco. True. All right. What are we doing for kicker? That's a good question. I think right now it's between Ficken and Nagar out of SMU, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's going to be one of those two guys. I think they're going to want Nagar to win. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say I'm pulling for Ficken.
Oh, really? You want Ficken, huh?
I'm just saying. I just love his name.
No, I would like a young kicker, kind of like what we have at punter. I would like Nagar to win the job. He's got a super strong leg.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's going to be a competition. It's going to be one of those situations where they will keep track of how they do in practices. They will keep track of how they do during the preseason, and whoever is the best man for the job will take it.
It's not about the leg. It'll come down to consistency. That's what it always comes down to.
Yep, for sure. All right, I only have one other trade target that I really want to talk about, and then after that we can just leave it up to comments, call-ins, and then we will wrap up this show. I have Hayden Hurst, 27 years old. He plays for the Atlanta Falcons, who just drafted Kyle Pitts. And he performed pretty decently last year for the Falcons. 570 yards, 6 touchdowns. I said that they might be willing to trade him if they feel like they have a backup who can step up as the tight end too. There's no way that Hayden Hurst is the starter anymore. So perhaps they move him because they know they've got Kyle Pitts now. I would say of the trades that I mentioned, I would want Njoku first, and then I definitely would jump all over Hayden Hurst if he's available. I think that'd be a great move for the Jets.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. You think he's a scheme fit too?
Yeah, no, he would definitely fit. He's a good receiver. He's not just one of those guys that catches the ball and falls down. Like he's got some wheels to him. He's pretty athletic. And I think that he would provide a nice target. And again, if you have him, Herndon, Yeboah, and then if you keep a fourth tight end like Croft, that's a pretty nice little tight end room. That's not bad. I would say
I mean, he knows the coaching staff, so there's that.
Well, he was at Baltimore and he was at Atlanta.
How long has he been with Atlanta? It's been 2 seasons, right?
I think it was just this past year actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
right,
they just traded this past year.
Still, I mean, massive target, what, 6'5", right?
Yeah,
6'5".
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Speed.
I would be all over that move. And again, I do think it's important they try to make a move for tight end because right now I would say tight end and the cornerback spots right now are really, really not very good. If Herndon comes back and he plays well, that could change the argument. But
Atlanta doesn't run 2 tight ends, do they?
Well, I think they may. They had the kid they used to have a guy in what was his name? Cleveland signed him. There was a tight end that did really well in that offense as well. I can't remember his name, but he's on Cleveland right now. And so, I mean, they like to use the tight end in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I would like our team. I would like the Jets to finally have a tight end worth mentioning. I think Hurst would be that. He's the most accomplished as of recently that I mentioned. 570 yards, touchdowns. So, yep.
Let me ask you this. I got a question for you. Besides Nick Bosa, any other talent we talked about where you would offer a draft pick out of next season's draft?
Would I trade for Nick Bosa? Is that what you're asking?
No. Besides Nick Bosa, because to go after Bosa, you would need to put a top draft pick on the table. We'll probably get to. So, but all the other talent we talked about: Minshew, Foles, AJ Howard, Hayden Hurst. Are you putting any of the mid to top picks on the table, or are you trying to get those talents just based off of raw cap space?
It would not take an early pick to get these guys. It would take a mid-round pick. I think no more than a third. I wouldn't even
Are
really
you comfortable with that though?
a third, trading a
Yeah,
third. No, I think a third's a little pricey. I would definitely give up a fourth though.
yeah.
And I would even consider tossing in another late round pick. We have multiple 6-round picks. So I would do that. I think it's worth the move, or excuse me, it's worth it because again, you're trying to surround your quarterback to have success year one, and that's kind of the idea. Is you're giving him everything that he needs.
Yeah.
Good question though. Gumball, he says, what about, or excuse me, about Lawson? He's a short-term option. We need our own Garrett, Bosa, Mack, or Lawrence. I will disagree with you respectfully, of course, Gumball. I think they signed Lawson with the intent that he's young. He's like 26 years old, I think, 25, something like that. I think they signed him with the intent that he is going to be our featured pass rusher on the edge. Will he pan out? I don't know. Will he be any good? I don't know. Will he be what they pay him to be? I don't know. But I think that's the intent. I think they want him to be one of the they want him to be their edge rusher. And I think the stats, the quarterback hits, the pressures that he had last year, he was ranked in the top 5. So if he can put it all together, he now has Quinnen Williams rushing up the middle. I think Lawson could have a very, very good season this coming season. So we'll have to wait and see. Grant Rude says, I like Hurst. He's a good receiver and a blocker. I like him more than Njoku. Yeah, I like Hurst a lot. Vern says, I like Hurst. Think about how much Tony G helped Matt Ryan in his early years. And yeah, that's kind of why I keep saying tight end.
Yeah.
I would like him to have somebody in the middle of the field that he can do some checkdowns to. We don't need explosive plays, but just somebody reliable. Herndon is not that right now. He can prove me wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not a done and sealed deal. With a new coaching staff, you never know what could happen.
Yep. Grant Rude, I don't know why I didn't get your call. If you want to call back, I have my phone right here. I don't know why it didn't ring. Give me a ring ding, Grant. Apparently he called me and it didn't ring. So give it another shot, Grant. We would love to have you on here. And by the way, the show is essentially over, guys. So if you want to call us and kind of wrap up the show with us, we would really appreciate it. Anybody that's watching this live right now or watching it after, we do have a phone always available. Call the number that's on the screen. You can call it tomorrow. You could call it any day. And I will put your voicemail. We've got a message from Adam Gase. This is awesome. I will put your voicemail on the stream. That'll be how we start the show. And that's kind of what I want to do. I want the voicemails to start our shows every single week, but we just don't get them consistently. We had 3 one week. We get 0 some weeks. Give me a ring ding and leave a voicemail. It doesn't need to be an eternity. You can just leave me a 1-minute voicemail and just kind of say, like, what are your thoughts are, like, as the current week is wrapping up and stuff like that. Let's see what Adam Gase has to say. Adam Gase. I don't know what that's a picture of. We should tank the next 2 seasons and shoot for Archie Manning in 2023. That way we can keep the Jets-Manning connection going. Okay. It is good to see you, though, Adam Gase. Hopefully you subscribe, buddy. I would love to have some celebrities in the community.
I can't believe he's showing his face around here.
Yeah, that's a brave, bold move. Let's see. James DiPietro, he says, let's go get our own Kittle. Problems at tight end solved. Sure. Well, no, that's not what I mean. When I say these are not guys that I'm trading for with the intent that they're going to be top 3 tight ends in the National Football League. But these are guys that will be more reliable than what we have currently on the roster. That's the idea here.
Right.
So, yes, I agree, Sean Bennett. Give me a ring. Call me, guys. You can be on the show. You can talk. You can tell me what you think and all that good stuff. Vern says, I'll pony up a second for Hurst. third for
Ooh,
sure.
man, big
I would
spenders.
I would not give up the second,
No
but
way.
if you said a third, I would probably be happy, but also unhappy, if that makes any sense. It would
I need
feel
to
like,
look at who the tight end talent is in college right now.
yeah, apparently there's a better class coming up. Adam Gase needs a super punch to the nuts, good style.
Sean's 100% accurate.
Grant Rood says Lawson's going to be on the Jets for a while. I would agree. I think that's that's why they gave him the big bucks. He was definitely their big signing of the offseason. Vern
Adam Gase.
Vern says Seattle's second. For what? Are you giving up
Yeah.
for a oh, we've got Grant Rood on the line.
Oh Lord.
To accept, press.
Hello. Welcome to NYJ Today. Who we have the privilege of talking to?
John, this is Grant.
Matt. Matt who?
Grant.
Oh, Grant.
Rood.
Grant. It sounded like you said Matt. I got a little bit confused. How you doing, man?
I am doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, dude. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. What do you got on your mind? What's on your Jets brain right now?
Got a few things here.
Awesome.
So, first off, evaluation year. Do we need to even add anything else here to the team, or are we just sitting back, waiting and watching to see what we have?
All right, I hear and I understand what your question is. Mike is confused, so let me baby step through this.
I can't hear Grant that well.
So I got you. So he's asking, do we need to trade for players when we're already in an evaluation season? So what he means by that is we're not going to win the Super Bowl or even make the playoffs this year. So why are we chasing for trade targets, essentially? The only reason why I would trade for somebody is to support Zach. That's it. That's the only reason why I would. Mike, what do you got?
100%. I mean, it's not even to support Zach, because I still agree that the top target position to pursue for a trade is cornerback. I don't know. I would go back and look at the chat comments, but I don't think anyone's 100% confident in who's in our starting rotation for corner other than Bryce Hall at that point. So to me, corner is definitely something where I don't think you go wrong by offering and going after a trade. And then for offense, I agree with you. It's really just, can we add another tool to Zach's, armory, in a way where it doesn't bankrupt us or capsize our 22 strategy at that point.
I want to hear Grant. Grant, what are your thoughts on that? You don't want to make a move. I know you're opposed to it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of opposed to it. I actually kind of side with Mike a little bit. Our cornerback room is just hellacious.
Yeah.
And needs big time help. And I think overall we can't really evaluate anybody in our secondary right now because there's too many weak links. So we don't know if this guy has potential, this guy's good, could be good in the future kind of thing, because nobody's good. You know, like even to have May, if we don't extend him, he just plays on the franchise tag. Do we know if he's, worth extending if he just has a terrible season because the rest of the secondary sucks?
That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah. So if he struggles, it's kind of like the offensive line thing. Like we had some players like Connor McGovern last year who we thought was a pretty solid pass blocker, and then he comes into the season and he kind of looks like dog shit, and we're like, what's going on? He was a pretty good player, and then we realize it's because the left guard and the right guard next to him were atrocious.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't know. Is he going to be good this year? Is he going to be, so.
Fair. What was some other points? Go for it.
I got two more kind of one-sided questions here, two-sided question here. If Zach Wilson balls out and the Jets are in the playoff race, does Joe go out and spend on, a big-time player to help him or the defense to help get into the playoffs?
Are you talking about for 2022, like after the season's over, if they're clearly on the cusp? Is that what you're asking?
No, this year. Let's say we start out 6-3.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to happen, but we start out 6-3. Trade deadline is like right now. do we go and, find that corner or find that tight end that will push us into the playoffs?
That's a great question. Mike, hit it.
I just want to make sure I heard it correctly. Can you repeat this point?
Saying if we start like 6-3,
Mm-hmm.
you think Joe Douglas should make a move? Zach Wilson's playing good. He's balling out, and we're in the playoff race. Should we make a big move to sign somebody to push us to a further?
No. I think we do. We stick to Joe D knows best, and the methods that we're doing right now is very methodical, but also not going away from what the real kind of underlying theme is, which is finding diamonds in the rough and then putting a lot of emphasis on the draft. And I think overextending will only hurt us in the 22 offseason when we were hoping to get even more gains, even more strides. I think chasing a playoff run when it's not really time to do that in our first season of rebuilding. I see that going away from our strategy, from our model that seems to be working. So my vote would be no on that.
It's a fantastic question. And actually, Grant, people are commenting about your question. So I'll let you go before me. What do you think? Should they make a move for a player if they're 6-3 and Zach Wilson is maybe more than what we expected?
I'm really disappointed to side with Mike again. I prefer him saying things like, let's take Sewell at 2, and Gilmore would be a trade target for us. But absolutely agree with Mike again here. It's evaluation year this year, playoffs next year.
Yep. And he just echoed what you said, Mike. So I actually agree with both of you. I don't think that if we were 6-3, we were 6-3 for a reason. And if things are going well, I don't really feel the need to make some big, bold, headline-grabbing move when things are already going kind of really good. So, no, I would not make a move, but it's still a very interesting question to entertain for sure.
And then the other side of that question, what if our wide receivers are running wide open, our line is playing great, and Zach Wilson looks completely lost and hopeless?
Grant, don't do this. Stop it. This is not nice. Mike, go. I don't even want to talk about this, but he has posed the question, and I will not ignore it.
I mean, what do we do mid-season while that's happening?
He's saying our offensive line is giving him time. He's saying that our receivers are doing their part. We can see them getting open, and Zach Wilson just looks like.
I guess there's two parts to that. Is what would I do, or what do I think they'll do, or what I hope they would do, versus what would a neutral party NFL analyst or experts do. I would say play Zach from start to finish, no matter if he throws more interception than Peyton Manning's rookie year, or whether he throws 0 receptions like Trey Lance in his one season in college. I would play Zach until the end. I think that not to do so goes against what everything Robert Saleh says, which is to play young players and to not be afraid of their mistakes. So my honest opinion, and what I hope they would do, is play Zach from start to finish. If it's going that bad, I guess it really will come down to who we sign as the backup quarterback, or who we think is going to be the backup quarterback. I mean, if you got, because what haunts me is the Eagles situation with Jalen Hurts. That whole thing kind of haunts me right there. So I don't even want to think about that, to be honest with you. I'm just going to go with I think and I hope that they play Zach start to finish, no matter what he does.
All right, cool. I would actually agree that. Well, so let me say this. First of all, that's a nightmare. That's an absolute chaotic, evil kind of situation right there. And by the way, people are commenting on your Dr. Evil laugh in the chat. But it's a scary thing to think about, because if things are looking good and the team around him is playing well, but he's playing like dog shit, that's a bad look for him. It's a bad look for Douglas. It's a bad look for Mike LaFleur. I would hate everything about that, and I would only come crawling back to you and saying, forgive me for not having Justin Fields ahead of Zach Wilson. What would you do if Zach Wilson is playing really badly? What would you do in that circumstance?
Well, I'd probably throw that guy in chat in behind that line and let him go to town. He was a captain first year in college for a reason, right?
We're talking about James Morgan?
Yeah.
They could. I don't think they'll bench him unless he's hurt, but I don't know, man. That's a chaotic evil thought. It's not a good thought.
No, I just threw that in there
because you knew it would upset me.
No, pretty much.
All right.
I don't think if the line is looking good, I don't think it'll matter because the run game is going to be priority number one, I think, this year anyway. So
Yep.
Zach will be complimentary this year, learn the ropes, get whatever up to speed in the NFL, and hopefully becomes a baller next year.
That's what I agree, dude. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you doing that finally. We really appreciate it, man. Have a good night.
Yep.
All right, later, brother. Bye. Fantastic call from Grant Rude. Thank you again. We really appreciate finally talking to you. Well, we talked to him over the Skype, but it's good to hear him on the phone. Guys, we are still here. There's a billion comments. I'm not going to be able to read all of them. Let's see here. Adam Gase says he'll take any fan questions. Oh, my. All right, let's see. Vern says, I'd like to see what Morgan has at some point if Zach is that horrible. And I think that's fair to say. If Zach is playing really poorly, I think we'd have to try something. Anthony Marengo agrees with Mike, though. He says that this is truly an evaluation season, so you just have to stick with Zach no matter how bad he is. I think that's fair. Let's see. Yeah, Michael Fisher says, oh my, Adam Gase. All right, well, I think I'm caught up on the chat. There was a lot of discussion about his evil laugh, but that's basically it, guys. Unless we get another phone call in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to start wrapping up this show. Again, thank you again for everybody that's tuned in, who's been commenting like crazy. This was a great chat tonight. This was a great stream. Really appreciate it. Be on the lookout. I'm the next Aaron Rodgers. Be on the lookout for some videos this weekend, guys. There's going to be 2. I'll be posting on Saturday a video about some predictions that I have for Zach Wilson for the season. And then I'm also going to do a video on Sunday. I'm starting a brand new series called Keys to Success. And heck, I'll even show you the thumbnail. Why not? There it is. Keys to Success, guys. It's going to start with Ulbrich and LaFleur, who we talked a little bit about tonight. I'll go into greater detail and give you guys why I think they're such critical parts to this team turning it around. So be on the lookout for those 2 videos. And again, just thanks as always, guys. This is just a blast. Do tweet me. Do hit me up on Instagram. Let me know one last time. What do you guys want for a giveaway? I'm getting the itch to basically announce it. I have an idea of what I want to do, but I would like to take your ideas. So, yeah, that's it. Go Jets. Thanks for everything. Mike, you got anything?
No, just like and subscribe, baby.
Yep. Thank you, Grant. He says, great show as always, guys. Thanks for doing this. I always look forward to the Wednesday evening NYJTLI live streams. Sean Bennett says, keep killing it. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Adam Gase says, can you guys finally admit you miss me? We can, but if you subscribe, Adam Gase, we will admit it. We will.
No, don't. Adam Gase, go back in the hole you came from.
Yeah. Okay, Kyle says, Penny promised us all Jets tickets and Jets mini helmets, and Michelle promised Grant Road his t-shirt. Don't forget it, guys. Vern says, good show, guys. Thanks a lot. Yep, I will look to tweet out the official giveaway, and I will put out a video on the channel saying what it is, probably next week. And then we will work towards getting the 1,000 subscribers so that we can make it a pretty big giveaway. If we don't get to 1,000, we'll still give away something, but it just won't be quite as sweet. No, you cannot have the football that is on the pedestal behind me, Kyle Kyle. This is NYJ. Thank you guys for coming and watching and hanging out with us, talking in the chat. We really appreciate it. Go Jets.
Go Jets, baby.
Guys, time, a word from my daughter.